Good morning, class.
Good morning.
Hope everyone's really excited for today. We're finally moving into our last project for this unit, which is super exciting. And so for our warm-up today, we're going to do a little activity that not only is going to get our creative juices flowing, but it's also going to help us set up our materials for today. So, first things first, before we get to the activity, we need to take our piece of cardboard and we need to rip it up. So, start ripping. Just go for it. Pick any corner and just rip, rip, rip. Now when you make your rips, you can make some pieces that are really tiny, maybe leave some bigger pieces, but we're just getting the materials all set up. Okay, and when everyone has finished ripping, put it in a nice, maybe spread out your pieces a little bit, and then put your hands on the table like this when you're ready. Okay, so while everyone is finished ripping, we're going to get into our game. So now kind of take a look at the pieces you have. And what I challenge you guys to do is I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock. And in those 30 seconds, I want you to try to make a face with your scraps. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So, ready, set, go.
Do I do it first? If I do it first.
Pretty
No.
done.
You guys still have some time.
I'm done.
Well, what can you add to it? If you think you're done, is there any more detail?
Is that my piece?
You're in
Fine.
All right, and stop.
Oh.
Okay, so hands up. Take a look at what you've done. Looking good. All right, now fluff it all up.
Wow.
Fluff it up. And I want you to try it again. Maybe make a different face. Maybe try to experiment with layering the cardboard on each other. Ready, set, go. Good layering, Dan.
Thank you. That's some hair.
And stop. Okay. Nice work, everybody. So, how many of you thought that this experiment was kind of tricky with these materials?
The second time was easier than the first.
The second time was easier than the first. How'd you feel the first time when you were trying to do it?
Rushed,
Rushed.
because I didn't know when it was going to end. And I had it, and I felt that I was supposed to use all my pieces.
Supposed to use
And-
all your pieces.
Yeah, I wasn't able to do that. the first time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really wanted certain pieces, so that's why I asked if I could rip them up.
Certain
because I
pieces.
felt like I needed certain pieces.
Okay.
But like Dan said, when we did it the second time, I was more like, no.
More prepared.
Yeah.
So you're feeling kind of limited the first time? Yeah. So I thought this was an interesting activity to get us started with today, because as we move into this final project, I wanted you guys to go back to our conversation about identity. Because when we started this unit and we were doing our self-portraits, we kind of started with the things written in black when we were defining our identities. We kind of had like the basic outline of identity. We talked about how a lot of us identify as being a boy or girl based on our gender. We identified with how we look. Some of us identify with what our race is, our personalities. And then after we did our self-portraits, there was a lot of questioning that we had going on about, does this self-portrait really represent who I am? just a drawing. So we got into our further conversations that we put in purple. When we thought about gender, we thought about the people, some of us out there who, what if you don't identify by your gender? What if you don't identify with what you look like? What if you feel differently on the inside than what you look on the outside? You know, what if you're adopted and you don't know where your family's from, and you kind of have that different sense and that pull of, you know, what your identity is, and also the idea that your identity is ongoing and changing. So we've kind of come to this conclusion with all of these awesome ideas. We've done our self-portraits, and we've learned about our relief sculptures as well in our last Edpuzzle activity. So I just wanted to remind you guys about this as well. Going back to that idea of having a surface and expanding away from it to create this awesome 3D effect, but coming from a solid surface. And so what we're going to try to do today and for the rest of this project is to use these kind of outline materials. They may seem simple, they may just be kind of representing what we have in black, like kind of just, you know, what do we do with this? How can we really use these tools to represent our identity? And I want you guys to try to build up what you think how you can identify yourself in this cardboard relief sculpture. Okay? Anyone have any questions before we go on to the demo? Oh, okay. So
I don't think so.
awesome. So I'm just going to do a quick demo before we jump right into it.
Okay.
So here are all my pieces. And in addition, we need a glue gun and our base. So as I'm doing this, you guys can also go back and think about the sketches that you've done, about other objects that kind of represent your identity. Maybe you want to incorporate that into this relief sculpture. Maybe you're going to do your portrait because that is how you identify yourself, but maybe you wanted to pick an animal that you really identify with. I know some of you did a lot of animal sketches. Maybe you wanted to do the big angry monster because sometimes that's how you feel inside. All that good stuff. So while I'm getting this set up, you guys can start thinking about that. All right, so kind of when I like to get started on doing this, what I like to do is kind of put my pieces, sort them in like sizes so I can see what I'm working with. Sometimes it's easier to start with the bigger pieces and move up to smaller.
Got it.
Okay? All right. So everyone has gotten a base. This is going to be the bottom part of your relief sculpture, kind of your flat surface that you're working against. And kind of what I like to do before I even touch my glue gun is I just like to start playing around and seeing how these pieces work well together. Let's say I have my little drawing of a little fox next to me. Let's pretend that it's right here because I identify as a fox sometimes. So that's what I'm going to be creating today. So it's right here as my sketch that you all have done as well. Third day of the project. Okay, so I'm just starting to take some materials that kind of look a little more foxy. These bigger pieces kind of look like ears. I'm feeling a nose here. And we're just gonna take, and I'm also keeping in mind that this is still a relief sculpture, so I am gonna wanna try to like build up as much as I can. And when you think of an animal, their noses kind of come out away from their faces. So I'm just experimenting with building. And this is a perfect opportunity where you can continue to rip those pieces. So it's not perfect, but it's a good place to start. So then what I like to do is kind of take it away in layers, so I remember which ones go first, and then I can start gluing. So using our glue gun 101. This is a hot device. We need to be very safe when using our glue gun. Never touch the metal part or even around the top of the glue gun. Always keep your glue gun on a piece of cardboard in case it drips. And do not fling your glue gun around. Keep your glue gun, hands and feet in the vehicle at all times. Okay, and then when you're actually gluing, a little bit of glue goes a long way. You squeeze it out, you press your glue gun down, and you kind of push away. That technique is helpful so you don't get that really stringy glue gun effect. Okay, so you just continue that. If you can work quickly and efficiently and safely, you can do 2 dabs at once, but remember, it does dry pretty fast. All right, make sure you're pushing things down. So there's kind of my first layer, and I'll go to my second layer. Anyone have any questions while I'm gluing these layers down?
Does it have to be an animal?
It does not have to be an animal.
Do you have to use all your pieces?
You do not have to use all your pieces, but I encourage you to use as many as you can because that is going to create a good effect. And as we can see, my pieces are kind of lifting up a little bit. You might have to hold your glue down. And you know what? The best thing about hot glue is as well is that it comes up easily. So if you're not happy with a piece you put down, you can just flip it right back up. Okay? So, all right, everyone feeling good? Okay, I'm going to take out some extra ripped up pieces if you need them.
Oh.
And also if you want to start from scratch again, some more blank pieces.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, and just so you guys know, I also have another safety feature, our very handy dandy first aid center / ouch bucket for when, if you accidentally burn yourself on the hot glue gun, which can happen, just dip your fingers into the bowl, make it feel better instantly. And this is, we're at a great spot right now. No one is gluing yet. We're all doing a really good job kind of building up our pieces right now. Dan, you might want to think about building up more of the face as well. Think about how that elephant face really comes out, not just from the trunk.
Comes up from the ears. See, these are going to be the tusks.
Oh, perfect.
The Amazon thing here. There's one, but I don't have another one. I managed to rip it up
Don't forget
earlier.
you can rip another piece or find some from our communal rip bucket.
See, not all elephants are perfect this way. So sometimes they have their tusks sometimes are broken.
Right.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That also can go along with identity as well. Sometimes we don't feel like we have full identities.
I'm
And
not
that's
sure I
okay.
can use all my pieces.
You do not have to use all your pieces. If you have any extra pieces that you're not particularly feeling inspired by, you can put them into the communal rip bucket place. Thank you. Awesome.
So, do elephants have hair? I don't think so. No, there's nothing up their head.
I'm gonna start gluing.
I think you are ready to glue. I think that's a great idea. Nice job with the technique.
Thanks.
Very good.
Be
Safe.
careful, Dan. The glue gun's right here.
Okay.
I gotta get it on before it.
It's okay. Remember, hot glue gun is pretty friggin'.
Oh,
the hot glue.
it's hot.
Yeah. We don't mess around with our hot glue guns. That's why we have to be safe with them. Okay, so Dan's worried about where he's gonna start because he is about to start gluing. So remember, Dan, you're gonna kind of want to layer back. So what would you like to focus on first?
I think I want to focus on this part.
Okay, so just
I
take.
think I can do the ears later.
Yeah, take the ears away and start focusing on gluing each of these pieces down.
All right.
piece by piece. And you can move the eyes away if they're if you're worried about them.
No, let's start with the eyes.
Okay, great.
Let's start with this eye first.
Oh, that's a good strategy of flipping the whole thing over. That's perfect.
Here, I'll
Thanks.
let you glue a little bit.
Alright. Oh, sorry. Jason messed that up. Okay, there's one.
Nice. Are you holding down your piece to make it stick?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Nice job building up the pieces.
Wow.
Thanks. I like the way the ears are built up.
Yeah?
He's an old elephant too, because he has hair coming down his ears. That was.
You have an older sense in your identity.
I hadn't planned on that, but it just kind of happened. A little bit of serendipity.
Mm. Sometimes parts of our identity surprise us. They kind of come out of nowhere. I'm noticing that everyone is kind of starting to slow down. Some people still have some more pieces to glue on. Don't worry. But we're kind of moving to the next phase. Because right now we kind of have these awesome relief sculptures, but without detail, they do feel a little flat.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended. Okay, so we're gonna introduce some ways to add color.
Color?
Yes, color, texture, detail. Are you both finished gluing right now?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna move the glue gun out of the way as a safety precaution and unplug it so we don't have to worry about it. We will get our drawing materials. Now, these are the drawing materials we have right now. We also have some more colors in the cupboard as well for you to use. But right now, I have my Sharpie. I have some black Conti, some orange Conti, a fat graphite pencil, some loose charcoal, and some white Conti. One of my favorite things about working with cardboard is that it has an awesome natural texture to it. So some of you are probably going to want to add very specific detail. I would encourage you though to try to experiment with the way the different Conti pens and graphite and charcoal works as more of a rub on the cardboard surface. So this is like my little tester piece of cardboard. We're going to experiment with the black Conti and see that kind of effect that it has on the cardboard. I'll move the ouch bucket out of the way so everyone can see. Okay, so there's our black Conti. This is the orange Conti. That will probably work well for my fox. Got the white. White's a little tricky.
Ooh.
That's if I really rub down. Kind of, if you want to have a more solidified surface. The charcoal is very messy, so be careful with the charcoal as you're working with it because it will rub off onto other materials. So kind of compare that to the Conti. The black charcoal is definitely richer and darker. And your graphite pencil is gonna be a little grayer. So this might be good for anyone out there who has an elephant because it's more of that gray tone. Okay, so with my fox, I like this textured look, so I'm gonna start with kind of rubbing on some of the Conti. I don't mind if it's not perfect because I like the natural look of the cardboard. It really reminds me of Bernard Langley with his old pieces of wood. It kind of gives that effect to it. So I'm just gonna rub on that orange. And then I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of white to the where the inside of the ear would be. And again, I'm not going for perfection here. I'm just going for a more stylized look. Maybe add some white in by his nose. Just rubbing it on there. And then I think I am gonna add here and there a little bit of the black Conti to add some greater detail, some depth, to kind of add to that relief look. And if you want to, you also can take your Sharpie for more exact lines. If you want to get more of a hard color in there, notice too how even with the Sharpie, you're still getting some of that cardboard texture, which is really nice. All right. You all know where the materials are. These ones are laid out here. I'll get out more colorful Sharpies for those of us who have made some monsters and other colorful creatures. All right, let's get started.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna can I have a practice,
Yes,
please?
I encourage a practice piece. Dan, do you want a bigger practice piece?
Oh, no.
Okay. Here are more Sharpies. And colored pencils too.
We don't have to just rub, right? We
No.
can-
I did the rubbing technique because I like the way it looks with the cardboard. If you want to fill it out more, you can kind of work back and forth as well. What do you think, Dan? What was that face about?
It wasn't turning out quite as I envisioned the gray bordering. So
How did you want it to look?
I don't know, more uniform maybe.
More uniform?
So,
You could try experimenting with rubbing it in with your finger,
ooh,
kind of blending it a little bit. And this is the thing about working with cardboard. You are gonna get that natural texture in as well, so you are gonna see some of those lines.
How do I get the color in when I have so many angles?
So many angles. Where do you want to add more color?
In here.
In here. I would say try to go in with the colored pencils, maybe.
Okay.
And don't be afraid of showing the cardboard.
Mm-hmm.
In another
Right.
world that wasn't a virtual world, we could get paint out, and you could paint it, but alas, that's not a reality right now. No paint here.
I don't know. I'm trying to decide what else I want to do.
maybe it's just lovely the way it is.
Yeah.
You might, is that an open mouth?
Yes.
You might want to add some definition there. Maybe another line on the outside to kind of really showcase, really make that a little bit more oomph. If you want that to be a little bit of a bigger part.
Like with a dark or like.
Yeah, like add a little outline or contour to it so it is a little more, pops out a little bit more. Because the downside of the orange Conti is it complements the gray pretty well.
Mhm. Like that.
Yeah, definitely. How do you feel after you put that white
I
on?
like it because it stayed on the ridges and it made it really look like whiskers, which is what I was going
Oh,
for.
perfect. I think it really made it pop in a much better way. It kind of really showcased all of this awesome layering in here. And I love the choice you made with these ragged edges, and the white kind of really draws your attention to that. I also love that you put your eyes on the back of this flop, which is really cool. Awesome.
I still want to do something there, but I'm not sure what color to use.
That's okay. You can always experiment. Dan, how are you feeling about your elephant?
My elephant's a gray and white.
Gray and white, yeah.
So,
It looks like
but his tusks are black.
his
because-
tusks are black.
Because that's what Amazon has.
Yes.
So I suppose I could paint them white, but
Yeah.
it's interesting black though. So
It's a little different.
it is
It's a little unique.
yeah.
All right. Well, I am so impressed with the work that you guys have been doing. The final thing that we need to do for this project before we display them on the wall is you guys have to do your exit tickets. And your exit ticket entails you kind of giving me an explanation of how this relief portrait relates to your identity. Okay? So look at what you've made. If it is a self-portrait, talk about how your self-portrait really relates to your own personal identity. Refer back to our awesome conversation that we had. Use some of the verbiage and our conversation to help ground how you identify with this relief sculpture. Maybe it's not something of you. Maybe it's something completely different. Maybe it's something that you're striving to meet. Maybe it's something that you feel inside. But tell me how the relief sculpture relates to you.
Okay.
Awesome. Awesome work today. I'm very proud of you, and you have created some wonderful pieces. Why don't you show them off?